Tobacco is one of the biggest cash crops on the planet. The leaves contain a stimulating alkaloid called nicotine, and when the leaves are dried and processed, they can be turned into a number of consumable nicotine products, like cigarettes, cigars, and snus. The problem, as I'm sure we're all aware, is that nicotine is incredibly addictive and harmful, leading to lung cancer, skin discoloration, heart disease, and countless other conditions. Millions of people die every year from the effects of tobacco and nicotine, and many people who survive the effects are often left with disfiguring surgical scars, like a hole in their throat to breathe and speak through, or they have to have part of their jaw amputated because they have palate or jaw or tongue cancer from chewing tobacco. But despite its dangers, and likely due in large part to its addictive nature, tobacco is super popular across the world. Tobacco has been a component of various human civilizations for a long, long time. But the question is, how long exactly? The answer to that question was not really known for sure, with estimates that tobacco use was actually a relatively modern phenomenon, having gotten started just a bit over 3,300 years ago. But a recent archaeological study at the Wishbone Hearth site in Utah has identified evidence of the unambiguously earliest human use of tobacco. At this Wishbone Hearth site, there are artifacts from ancient hunter-gatherers who lived in the Great Salt Lake Desert, including the remains of a stone hearth used for cooking, as well as several spear tips for large game hunting, and 4 small tobacco seeds. The lead researcher behind the paper, Darren Duke, said, quote, "The tobacco seeds were the big surprise. They are incredibly small and rare to be preserved," unquote. These hunter-gatherers are believed to have lived over 12,000 years ago at the end of the last ice age. This time, the Great Salt Lake Desert would not have been a desert. It would have actually been a marshy swampland, a floodplain for meltwater rivers coming down from mountains still bearing the immense weight of old glaciers. It would have been a viable place to grow tobacco. To determine if the recovered tobacco seeds were about as old as these ancient peoples are estimated to be, the researchers performed a carbon dating analysis and determined the seeds were about 12,300 years old, and this is about 9,000 years older than the next oldest piece of evidence we have for human tobacco consumption. And it's possible that human use of tobacco began even earlier than this. As tobacco is native to the Americas, and humans came to the Americas around 15 to 16,000 years ago, although this is disputed and the true arrival date may be much earlier, it does suggest that humans recognized the psychoactive effects of tobacco relatively quickly upon coming into the New World. It's probable that they chewed or sucked on wads of cured leaves, like a rudimentary form of chew. Due to its mind-altering effects, tobacco was integrated into ceremonies and religious rituals. And as humans have cultivated tobacco for these purposes, we've domesticated it. And now, thousands of years later, it's one of the world's biggest cash crops. At the end of the abstract in the study, the authors say, quote, "The find has implications for our understanding of deep-time human use of intoxicants and its socio-cultural intersection with food crop domestication," unquote. Indeed, I'm very fascinated by all the drugs that primitive humans consumed, and not just the reasons behind their consumption of these drugs, but also the story of how they discovered these drugs, realized that these plants or fungi had this particular psychoactive effect that they interpreted as sacred. It's just really unfortunate that this particular substance happens to be really harmful for our bodies. It's a leading cause of death even today, with all of our medicines and technologies. I can only imagine how damaging it would have been to ancient humans.